radio's not going to work out, all right, so what do I want to do? So I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, the Lugnuts are cool. I'm from Lansing. This will be awesome. I'm going to be the GM of the Lugnuts. So I marched back into his office and told him I wanted to be the GM of the Lugnuts, and he was like, good, we've got a starting point. But he's like, at that time, there was 140 minor league teams in the country. There's only one Lansing Lugnuts. He's like, so why don't you just broaden your horizons a little bit? We'll be good. And I was like, no, I think I'll stick to the Lugnuts.
Welcome to the 517 Capital City Podcast with your hosts, local professional photographer Natasha Daniels, Lansing's leading lender Robin Berg, and 517's real estate expert Kat Gandolfo.
Hi everyone, today we welcome to the show my friend Zac Clark, General Manager of the Lansing Lugnuts.
So Zac, tell us a little bit about what you do here at Lugnuts and maybe a little bit about how you got into the business.
Yeah, so here with the Lugnuts, really, I wear a lot of hats, but my primary focus is with the Major League side. So I work with Oakland a lot, Major League Baseball, coordinating with them to make sure that the players have everything that they need, and that, our team is, kind of moving forward with travel, like food coordination, things like that. So that's a big piece. My primary focus really should be with sponsorships and our partners. That's where I've kind of dug in the most in this new role for me. The first 2 years that I was here, I was over the ticketing and marketing side. So obviously very hands-on in that. So I do wear a lot of hats, and I feel like I'm involved in every department that we have in some small way. But really, here since January when I took the GM role, it's really been focusing on the transition of the team from our previous ownership to Diamond Baseball. That was a big piece. That took really a lot of time and focus and energy to make sure that got done. And then, the baseball world is ever changing, evolving with the PBL, the minor league guys unionizing, and all those kinds of things. So just making sure that we're above board in every area for the team, for the players, for Oakland, for Major League Baseball. So those two things have really kind of taken most of my time. But aside from that, I really try to focus on our partnerships and making sure that our sponsors are happy and that everybody's getting their messaging out and things like that.
That's awesome. So how did you get into sports?
Yeah, so when I was graduating high school, I really wanted to be a teacher, and the reason why I wanted to teach was because I thought that would be the easiest way for me to be a baseball coach someday. I would work for a school, and I would have the freedom and flexibility to go coach. And I didn't even know sports management existed. I didn't even know that you could work in baseball someday or whatever. So I was going through my first couple of years of college in education, and got to the part where I was supposed to start student teaching, and realized that it was like, I don't want to be a teacher. This is not for me. I really just wanted to be involved in the game and stay with baseball as long as I could. And kind of had the realization that going into teaching just because I wanted to coach baseball would be a disservice to the kids, really. So I did some research and did some looking around. I was at Central Michigan University at the time, and I kind of heard about this sports management thing, and I was like, well, I wonder what that's all about. That sounds kind of cool. And went into my academic advisor's office for the teaching side of it, and told him I didn't want to teach anymore. So set up a meeting with the sports management guy and told him that I wanted to be in sports management. And found out really quick that there's a lot of kids across the country that want to be in sports management. Yeah, there's a lot. So he was kind of like, look, if you want to do this, like, this career path isn't just hanging out with the players after the games, and it's very serious. It's similar to getting a business management degree, right, where you have to pick a career path and stick to it. So I initially thought I wanted to go into radio. Like, how fun would that be to just be on the radio, talk about sports all day? I thought I could do that, and honestly, the guy laughed me out of his office. He's like, he's like, you're the problem with this, He's like, every kid wants to be on radio. He's like, come back tomorrow with a plan, figure it out, and let me know what you want to do seriously. Otherwise, I'm not going to admit you into this program. I was like, oh gosh, okay. So radio's not going to work out, all right, so what do I want to do? So I started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, the Lugnuts are cool. I'm from Lansing. This will be awesome. I'm going to be the GM of the Lugnuts. So I marched back into his office and told him I wanted to be the GM of the Lugnuts. And he was like, good, we've got a starting point. But he's like, at that time, there was 140 minor league teams in the country. There's only one Lansing Lugnuts. He's like, so why don't you just broaden your horizons a little bit and we'll be good. And I was like, no, I think I'll stick to the Lugnuts. And he was like, that's very unreasonable. You know, like,
This guy is not a build your dreams up kind of person. But he's just squashing everybody's dreams.
You have no idea how big of a fan I am.
like, take it easy on yourself. Just say you're going to be a GM of minor league baseball and we'll move forward. And I was like, no, I think I want to be the GM. He's like, minor league baseball GM, got it. I was like, all right, so I'll show you, you know, and so he and I are still very close to this day. We still
Have
talk all the
invited him
time.
to a game?
Oh yeah, he and I have always been, you know, very close, and he helped me through, you know, the program in Central Michigan, and then when I graduated and got jobs, we stayed in touch, and being back in Lansing and stuff. So he's a good friend. He's very supportive of all of our alumni, and you know, Central Michigan Sports Manager Program really kind of is a brotherhood. We look out for one another. I mean, here at the Lugnuts, I think we have 11 CMU graduates on staff out of 21 full-time staff members. So, you know, we really take care of our own at CMU, and that's something that, you know, those guys instilled in us very early on, that, you know, hey, stick together. You guys are going to be the ones to help each other through this. So,
You know what kind of like education training they've had.
right. So our previous GM, Tyler, when I was getting ready to do an internship, and that was kind of the last thing I needed to do to graduate, Tyler Parsons, who was our previous GM here in Lansing, but at the time he was in Forest City, North Carolina, with the Collegiate Wood Bat League team. He posted on Facebook that he had gotten the GM job in Martinsville, Virginia, in a Collegiate Wood Bat League team. So I messaged him and I was like, hey, I need an internship. And he's like, all right, I got you. You know, again, the CMU brotherhood kind of thing, but he's also a Dansville guy. So I knew him from high school and a little bit at Central, and you know, now I'm going to go do my internship with him down in Martinsville. So did that, showed up in Martinsville on the first day. He walks me into the ballpark, we like look around and he's like, what do you think? And I was like, what are we doing here? Like, you know, the ballpark needed a lot of work. It was something that, you know, really, we didn't have a lot of resources, we didn't have a lot of bodies to put it together, but we rolled up our sleeves and got the job done. And it was great. It was a great summer. Tyler and I forged a pretty strong relationship there. And when I went back to CMU to graduate, you know, that next semester, in between that time frame, he had taken a job in Johnson City, Tennessee, for the Cardinals affiliate at the time. And he called me right around the time, I think it was literally the week before graduation. And he was like, hey, just call and make sure you're graduating. And I was like, yeah, I'm graduating. And he's like, all right, I got a job for you. I was like, I'm in. He's like, you don't even know what the job is. And I was like, what is it?
You need a job.
It's a foot in the door.
You know, first job out of college, this is great. He was like, well, I'm taking the job in Johnson City, Tennessee, and I want you to come and be the assistant GM for me there. And I was like, sure, sign me up. He's like, you know, are you sure you want to do this, man? Like, you know, the Martinsville thing and all this. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. Like, it'll be great. So in February, after graduation, I packed up and moved to Johnson City, and it's kind of the same thing. We walked into that park down there, and you know, at that time in Johnson City, we didn't even sell beer in the ballpark, which we were both like, well, that's the first thing we got to do. No wonder attendance is so low, right? But you know, Johnson City, you know, is really, it's in the Bible Belt. It's a very different place than where Tyler and I both are from and grew up. So, you know, we were, I think he was 27, I was 23 or 24 at the time, and so we were very green and energetic, but we had to kind of, you know, really figure out how things were going to work there in Johnson City, and what we could do and what we couldn't do. And you know, beer was one of the non-negotiables for us. So we were like, hey, listen, if we're going to have success here, this is the direction that we want to go in. And so through that, we were able to you know, get beer in the ballpark, added several new things to the ballpark that they hadn't had in the past, and brought some fun promotions, and you know, Dollar Mondays, where you know, all the food items and tickets were $1, and Thirsty Thursday, and you know, all these different community-focused promotions that really allowed folks to come out, you know, for you know, a really cheap night out, to come and enjoy what we were doing. And then, on the fireworks Fridays and the giveaway Saturdays and things like that, they were more willing to pay a full price ticket. And so it just kind of built like that. It just kind of snowballed for us. So we got through the first couple of years, and we were operated by a 501c3 nonprofit, which is very unusual in minor league baseball. And the Tennessee Smokies in Kodak, Tennessee, which is about an hour and 20 minutes from us, they were kind of looking to expand their footprint a little bit. So Tyler and the guys with the Smokies had a conversation, and it eventually worked out to where the Smokies organization took over the Cardinals. So that gave us a lot more resources, more bodies, deeper pockets to do some things. We installed turf, we installed new lights, we did it in clubhouses. We did all these wonderful things to the facility, which really kind of just expanded everything we were doing and the level that we were doing it on. So after the 2016 season, Tyler and I had a conversation, and he was like, "Hey, listen, like you're kind of capped out here. There's not much else that you can do to like help your career. It's time for you to go kind of figure something else out." And I agreed. He wasn't going anywhere. My next step was to try to want to be a GM. He wasn't planning on leaving, so what was I going to do next?
He was like, don't come for my job.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Don't come
So,
for me. Yeah.
I said, all right. So I ended up taking a job in Asheville, North Carolina, which is just an hour over the mountain from Johnson City. I really felt like at the time I needed to focus on honing my sponsorship sales skills. As a GM, that's a really big piece. Typically with minor league teams, the GM is the one that's going to kind of put those pieces in place for you. So I had some experience doing it, but not really on that level. So I took the job in Asheville to get that experience and kind of make myself a little bit more well-rounded. Loved my time in Asheville. It was amazing. The people there were incredible. The president from Asheville just called me the other day to check in and talk to me for about a few things. So built some wonderful relationships there. I still talk to those guys, and had a great year. But at the end of the year, Tyler took the job here in Lansing. I was like, ripped the heart on my chest, man. That's the job that I wanted. What are you doing? But it left a hole in Johnson City. So the Wood Sports guys called me and asked me to come back to be the GM of the Cardinals, which I did for the 18-19 season. 2020 happened, right? Which was a very
Rough.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want to say about it, wasn't fun, right? So we had a rough year. We lost our season, as did all minor league teams. And then at that time, that's when Major League Baseball decided to cut. What was it? 20 or 30 teams. I forget how many it was, but they decided to cut them out of the minor league footprint. So through 2021, we knew we weren't going to be affiliated with St. Louis anymore. And I had a decision to make, and the decision I made was I wanted to stay in affiliated baseball. So with COVID and all the things that went on with COVID, a lot of people got laid off in different areas. Like a lot of people were out of work, looking for work. There were layoffs, so on and so forth. So through all of that with the Lugnuts, there was an opening here where Tyler called and said, "Hey, if you want to stay in affiliated ball, I can bring you up to Lansing and you can be our assistant GM and you'll handle tickets and marketing." And I thought, well, great, that gets me closer to home. We'll get the band back together, so to speak, in Lansing, and we'll do some great things. And my now wife, I was dating at the time, so I had to convince her to move to Michigan.
She's amazing.
Yeah. Well, and we weren't engaged yet, so she was like, "Put a ring on it," and I was like, "Man, this is awesome." All right, so we did that and convinced her to move up here. So for the 21 season, it was my first year in Lansing as the AGM. And then last Thanksgiving, Tyler, right around that time, Tyler told me he was headed to Durham and that he was going to recommend me for the GM job. So, working in sports, it's all about relationships from A to Z. The people that you work with, your partners in the community, Oakland, Major League Baseball, it's all about the relationships. Any amount of success that any franchise has in the minor league system, it's all based on those relationships. And for me, with Tyler, and kind of hopping on his coattails and doing the way that I did it, it was about that relationship. And so, being back here in Lansing, it took a lot of hard work. I had to do a lot of things right, and I had to figure out, kind of how to best build my career, but without relationships that would never happen. And getting the opportunity to be in Lansing is something that I cherish. It's something that I've wanted for a very long time. And when I look back on my path, my journey to get here, it's very clear, it's very obvious that it was the relationships that I was able to forge. And, those are just so important to me, and that's one thing that I tell anybody that wants to get into sports. It's all about the networking. It's all about getting your hands dirty in the industry, volunteering, showing people what you can do, building those relationships. Because without that, you're just not going to be in that brotherhood that is the sports industry, and it's going to be harder for you to find your footing. But if you can build those relationships, if you can show people what you're about, put your money where your mouth is, you'll be able to build something very special and work your way up the ladder fairly quickly.
I think that's really great advice for just anybody in any industry. I know Robin, one of the reasons that I know Robin is because as a lender, you spend a lot of time building relationships with agents, with clients, just in general, to build up who you are and what you do and your industries. I think that is like a really great takeaway for anybody.
Any career. That's the only way, even Natasha, that's the only way you get business and get people to notice your business is by getting out there and networking.
Well, with Natasha's business, it really started very organically, and getting her in here as the team photographer, it was extremely organic. I mean, it was just a nice gesture that one of our pit crew members made to your family, right? That started our relationship.
Like my mom had inquired about who's the general manager, and then she sends an email and pictures and tells them that I can sing and that I can be a photographer too, and then and then we came to another game, she and I together, and he and I are just making like eye contact, like what, what is this? And he's like, that's what it is. Your mom sent me pictures and told me about, you can sing and do photography, and I'm just like. So he invited me to audition to sing the next day and bring my camera. And I never shot sports before, but I played softball for 12 years. So
I think you were wearing like your middle school softball jersey.
Yeah, I had my little league softball jersey on the day that I auditioned, and I hadn't sang the song since 2003. So he's like, holy crap, you can you haven't sang that since then? I'm like,
don't worry, we'll get a video of her singing.
So
we have some.
Yep. So I just took a couple pictures and then shared them with him, and then we talked about team photographer and all of that.
Yeah, we had a big need, a big void for that. We were, again, our relationships with our partners, they wanted to see images of their, marketing dollars at work, and we just didn't really have them, other than the pit crew or myself or our marketing team pulling out our phones and taking those pictures. It was just, so, and then having like action shots where, if the BWL sign out there and the Shaheen sign, the right fielder's in front of it catching the ball, it's a lot cooler than just going and standing 20 feet out in front of it and just taking a picture of it. So having somebody available to us to do those things was paramount, really. And so we talked all through it, and I had to kind of scrape and claw to get it set up, and we're still working through some things as always. But it's just we're building that back out here at the Lugnuts, and again, it's based off of a relationship that kind of just really happened organically and out of nowhere, and you never know where those relationships will be or what they'll end up doing for you ultimately. So
networking and just getting a foot in the door is really the most important thing. I mean, like you said, volunteering and just putting yourself out there.
Yeah, and I was at CMU. We did a lot of volunteering, and it was competitive almost. Like the kids that I was in the sports management program was like, well, I just volunteered at the Final Four. Oh yeah, well I volunteered at this and I volunteered at that. So it was like, I always say, that old adage, like iron sharpens iron or steel sharpens steel, right? Like that's how the group of kids that I went to school with operated. Well, I did this, well I did that, well I did this, well I did that. I spent a lot of time working with the Special Olympics in Mount Pleasant because they're actually headquartered in Mount Pleasant, so there was a lot of opportunity to do that. But now here in Lansing, we do the polar plunge every year with the Special Olympics, so I get to go back and work with several of the folks that I worked with in Mount Pleasant. So it's the sports industry is very small, and people move around pretty frequently, so it's funny.
Do you brag on like a bigger level now? Like, well, we did this. Like, guess which charity we have.
Yeah, right. Well, no, I mean, I've got some guys that I'll do that with, but the sports industry is so competitive, and ultimately there really is a lot of turnover, unfortunately. So it's one of those things where when you're sitting in those classes and you're in your intro to sports management class, they tell you right away, hey, 30% of you aren't going to make it in this industry.
It's nitty-gritty.
It is tough, and for various reasons, there aren't as many jobs as there are people that want to work in sports. The hours are tough, nights, weekends, holidays. You have to be able to sacrifice those things for the greater good. And if you don't view your job as something more important or bigger than just working in sports. It's really a community piece. Then it's likely you probably won't make it.
Not a 9 to 5.
It's not, and it can't be. There's too much to do, and we want to keep the ballpark active, right? We were talking earlier about all of our special events, and we just named a few. But our new ownership group, in our first call with them, jokingly said, "Hey, we want to activate the ballpark 365." And all of our staff was like, But the point of it is like we want to be that piece of the community where people come and have a good time and enjoy themselves, and we want to be seen in that light. So we have to bring a multitude of events to the ballpark, whether it be a 5K or a beer fest or polar plunge or any array of things that is going to bring a different subset of people out to the ballpark on a regular basis, because we want to be that member of the community.
Yeah, Jackson Field being a staple of Lansing. The first time I came to a baseball game when I moved to Lansing was amazing. And granted, I didn't know about it for a while because it wasn't 365, but it would be amazing to have it be 365.
We'd have to triple our staff, right? But,
But what's wrong with that?
It's never gonna stop.
right.
It's such a pillar of our community.
Yeah.
Our team went out and posted something on Facebook recently, asking people. We like to do a lot of videos and asking people what is your pillar of Lansing? And I can't tell you how many people said the Lugnuts.
And that's such a source of pride for us, and we want to continue to improve and continue to enhance, what our offerings here are at the ballpark, so that everybody can be included, right? So that everybody can feel comfortable here and want to come here and enjoy what we have to offer right in downtown Lansing. If you guys look around the ballpark now, especially, and you see all of the apartments, all the bars, restaurants, the grocery store now, everything is here for us. And that's because the ballpark has allowed for that stuff to come in. And so we're very proud of that, but we also want to continue to see how we can expand that footprint and continue that aid and that growth of Lansing.
It's wonderful. I know, I'm looking right here, I see Paramount Coffee and college bike shops right over there. It's such a community.
Yeah, the Lansing Shuffle over there with all the really fun and exciting new food items that we have. The river there, you can get on the river and kayak, all the bars and restaurants, all the apartments, It used to be when I was a kid, and I grew up in this ballpark, and it used to be that there was really no reason to come to Lansing other than to go to the Lugnuts game, right? There was a few other things going on around town, and this and that, festivals, the zoo, etc. But my mom and dad both worked in Lansing, and they would drive out to Dansville, pick us up, drive back to Lansing, go to the ball game, and drive back to Dansville. Now you can live here, you can work here, you can stay here. There's a reason to come to Lansing and go to LBC or the Nut House or any of these places around the area to come and hang out and enjoy Lansing, come to the ball game, and then you can head out, And so that's been really cool to see. That's been really exciting for us to see the growth of our community and know that kind of that centrifugal force is the ballpark. That's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it's awesome. It really is. So thank you for coming or allowing us to come to you today.
The behind the scenes is pretty cool.
Yeah. And what is the best way for people to find events and the schedule and all of that?
Yes.
Network with the Lugnuts.
Network with the Lugnuts. LansingLugnuts.com, that's our website. And then we're on all of the major social medias at Lansing Lugnuts. So Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, probably some other cool ones I don't even know about. TikTok.
Big Lug gets out there
Big
a lot.
Lug,
He's pretty
come
fun.
see Big Lug, come hang out. It's really a lot of fun.
And we're in the clubhouse room, which is
This is beautiful.
I didn't know this existed. She
Yeah.
was saying you can buy a clubhouse ticket.
Yeah,
and
you
all
can.
the games I've come to, I did not realize that.
Yeah, you can buy individual tickets to the clubhouse. There's a 2-hour all-you-can-eat buffet. There's a nice bar, the best view of the ballpark in the stadium. So this is a great space for folks to come and check out.
come support the Lansing Lugnuts.
Go nuts.
Nuts.